Hey everyone, how's it going? um, Darnell, it says you're in Austin. I'm glad you have power too. Do you have water? You got water too? Damn, you're in the good part of Austin. Um, where I am in Austin, we have power. Otherwise, I wouldn't be here. But we lost our water last night. So um, still blessed because many people in Austin don't have power or water. And it will be that way for a few more days. Um, so anyways, yes, I'm in Austin, surviving the snowpocalypse that is Texas. Um, it's actually snowing again. It was at least an hour ago. Um, is it snowing? Yeah, Darnell says it's still snowing, so wonderful. Anyway, so today we're going to talk about travel hacking, which is the art of collecting points and miles for free travel. I was looking at everyone where they're from. And I see a lot of you are overseas, and so I'll try to do my best to address any of your questions for overseas markets, though I tend to know the US, Canada, and UK market the best. And so we've done some travel hacking sessions in the past where I had a whole presentation that took way longer than I thought. And then we ran out of time for questions. So today we're going to just take all your questions about travel hacking because it's a new year. It's tax time here in the States, which is always a great time because you can pay your federal tax bill on a credit card. So I don't get taxes taken out at the end of the year. During the year, I do it all at once because you should never give your government an interest-free loan. But two, I can put it all on a credit card and get a bunch of sign-up bonuses. So it really sets my year off right. And additionally, this is always a good time to sort of take stock of the cards you have, the point balances you have. Most of us haven't traveled for about a year now, so we have all these accumulated points. So now is a good time to just see where you have the most points, where do you have weaknesses that you can fill. Like I don't have a lot of hotel points, so I will be getting all the Hilton cards. And just resetting and creating a new strategy for the year, because goal setting is super important, because you can get all the cards in the world, but if you don't have a goal you're working toward, you're just going to have points everywhere, and then you'll have a little bit of everything but not enough to get you anywhere. And with travel starting up this year, fingers crossed, later in the year, this is a good time to set a goal to work toward. I have like 500,000 Delta points that I've accumulated. So I don't need Delta points. I got 300,000 Chase, don't need Chase. I need Amex and I need hotels. So I know, where I want to go and what airlines are there. And so I think before I take your questions, the thing I really want to reiterate the most is that travel hacking is really about goal setting. I know we all want to travel in business class or hotels or whatever. And we hear from all these websites, you got to get the Chase card, you got to get this card and that card, but you don't. You just got to get the cards that really work for your needs. Erica was just telling me that she wants cash back because she got more points and flight credits than she needs, and she's not going anywhere for a while because she's about to have a baby. So cash back is her goal, right? So when you have that goal, you can really figure out what cards to get. And so not only figuring out where do I want to go, but how do you want to get there and who do you want to get there on can also be important too. So yeah, write down your goal, because not all cards are good cards. The best card is the one that's right for your spending habit. So as Erica said, all you gotta do is raise your hand and I'll take some questions. So really this is a Q&A. So I just raise your hand, I'll unmute you and we'll go from there. Someone be daring and ask the first question. I don't know if you have the little,
I actually have a question from Jeffrey Dean, who was just asking, he private messaged me and he was asking, can hotel hacking be as lucrative as airline hacking?
Yeah, I think so. You know, we all need places to stay, and free is free, right? So while the hotels have like reduced their points, right? So like it takes so many points to get a free night stay, at least in Europe or the US or Canada. But you get a lot of value from the hotels when you're in Central or South America, Africa, Asia. Like it doesn't take a lot of points to get, you know, the JW Marriott, you know, in Costa Rica. So I find hotels the most valuable overseas, because, you know, even if I'm getting like a Hilton Garden Inn outside, you know, Chicago's airport, they're still like 20,000 points a night. Sometimes I think the Courtyard in Cancun was like 35,000 points a night, and so that's a lot. But when you go, I remember getting a Marriott in Mendoza, and it was 8,000 points. And so, you know, there's a lot of good value in hotels outside sort of Western countries. And they always tend to offer huge sign-up bonuses. So right now, if you got every Hilton card, you'd walk away with about 500,000 Hilton points, as well as diamond status. And so even just if you only keep those cards for the first year, you know, collectively that's like $700 in fees that you'd pay for about, you know, used wisely, close to like 3 weeks of accommodation. So and plus you get diamond status, so you get free breakfast at all the hotels automatically. So that's, you're saving a few bucks there a night. So I do find hotels lucrative. I tend to get all the cards and then use them overseas.
Wow. David, did you have a question?
Yes, I did. Hi, Matt. Hi, Erica.
Hey, David.
Do you monitor your credit scores? If so, how?
So I monitor them through Equifax. You know, there's 3 reporting companies. There's Equifax, TransUnion, and I'm blanking on the third one. Experian, yeah. And so I just kind of check that out. And then my Discover card gives me an alert when it goes up or down. They're like, you have a change. But you know, your credit score, everyone's afraid to use it, but the purpose of having a good credit score is to use it. You know, everyone's like, oh, if I get more credit cards, I'm going to hurt my credit score. But you got a good credit score to get good credit cards and, you know, good mortgage rates and all that jazz. So getting a card doesn't really hurt your credit score over the long term, because the main part of your credit score is your debt to credit ratio. So if you have $10,000 in credit available, but you're spending 5,000 of that, you're using 50% of your credit. So that doesn't look as good as somebody with $100,000 in credit who's only spending 5,000, because they're only using 5% of their available credit. And to the reporting agencies, the card companies, that looks like a safer bet, because, you know, you think like, oh, I have a lot of credit. That's not good. Having lots of available credit makes you less of a credit risk. So, and any ding you get on your card, it only lasts a few months. So, you know, you get, when they do a hard pull, when they check your credit score, you do get dinged a few points, but after like 2 months, that goes off your reporting.
So the score can differ on each of the credit reports, but you only check the one.
Yeah, there's not going to be a huge variation between the 3 anyway, right? You know, Experian is not going to give you an 850 and then TransUnion a 600. You know, they're all will be within 10 or 20 points of each other. But as long as they're reporting anything over 700, you're good.
Okay.
And you're allowed to check your credit for free at least once a year, right?
Yeah, you can get one free credit report every year.
Yeah. All right, John Frierson has a question. John, do you want to unmute yourself?
Hi, I just wanted to ask if, if you get a whole bunch of different loyalty accounts, you've got points spread across a lot of different things. Do you use any tools that help you keep track of all the different points with different places?
I just do it the old fashioned way. I have a spreadsheet and I just have them there. There's not as many good apps. I know the points guy is trying to build an app that has an API into all this, but a lot of the companies don't let third-party folks attach to their loyalty programs. So, frequent-flier and was used to be good, but then they lost access to a couple of people. And so I just have a spreadsheet. I list them all. But I think that here's the thing, right? You shouldn't have, I mean, I randomly found like 10,000 points in my Alaska account. I was like, oh, that's cool. But since I focus mostly on Chase and Amex, as well as Delta, because I fly Delta domestically, I don't really earn a lot of points through a lot of these various carriers, right? So yeah, I keep them all active, and there's 10,000 points in a Singapore account that one day I'll use that I transferred that I didn't need. But so long as you're earning the bulk of your points, and Chase or Amex or like that one airline you really love, Chase and Amex allows you to just transfer out. And so I don't keep big point balances because I take my Chase points or Amex or Citi, I transfer them to the airline I need, and then I use them right then and there. So, I probably use hundreds of thousands of United points a year through Chase, but like at any given time, there's like 500 points in there because I only transfer when I use them. So I don't need to keep that spreadsheet updated a lot because I'm not earning points all the time through dozens and dozens of these companies. And so a spreadsheet is good enough. It should be good enough. But I don't know of like an app out there.
All right. There we go. Rebecca, would you like to unmute yourself?
Would you talk some more about transferring points to airlines? I've never done that. I always, when I book a flight, just go to the, like Chase's website or American Express and book with them. What's the advantage of transferring your points to the airline, and how do you do it?
Did you send me an email about this?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, yeah, this is a really good question. I think this is one thing where a lot of people get tripped up on. I just admonished a friend when we were in Mexico for doing the same thing. And so it's very easy to like book direct, right? You can get all these points. Chase is like, they're worth 1.5 cents a piece or whatever. Book direct instead of cash. But let's take for an example, it's basically worth like Chase is 1.25 and Max is 1, but for the sake of this math, we'll call it 1. If you get 60,000 points and they're worth 1 cent a piece, right? It will take you can get a $600 flight, right? So, but if you take those 60,000 points and say transfer them to, I don't know, American Airlines, whatever, or British, because we're using Amex points here. 60,000 British points will get you, depending on the mileage, a business class flight. Definitely at least an economy flight to the States and back, right? To Europe and back, So how much is round trip British Airways to Europe? More than maybe $600. But how much is in a business class flight? Definitely more than $600. And so when you're transferring out to other airlines, you tend to just get more bang for your buck because they'll be valued closer to like 2 cents a point. The points guy has this like table he has where, you know, they're always estimating the point value of points, but you know, it's closer to 2 cents than 1 cent, right? So it's just not as good as cash, right? So if I were to take my Amex points, I can book a $600 flight, or I can move them to Delta, and I can get Delta flights for, you know, 12,000 miles, right? So I can get, rather than get one $600 flight, I could probably get $900 worth in Delta flights based on that, because rather than just do it as 1 cent a mile, sometimes they're either zone based or they are distance based, and so you just find that like sweet spot where it's the distance, right? So Delta and United, I think American now use like based on the dollar value of the flight, this is how many points you need. Whereas Alaska is like, here in the zone, it's 10,000 or 12,000 points. British Airways does distance. So if you just get like 1 mile below the distance here, you get like a whole cheaper flight. So yes, it's complex, but because you got to know all these reward charts, but that's a thing for another day. But the short end of it is that you just get more bang for your buck when you transfer them. And so I would say that my threshold is anything less than $150. It's good to use Chase or Amex points in lieu of cash, because, you know, $150 flight, you know, is about 12,000 points, right? So like, that's okay, right? You know, a $10,000, $100 flight would be like 8,000 points. It's very rare you'll find a major carrier giving you that kind of point deal, right? So that's just sort of my general rule. Less than $150, I will check how many points Chase wants, and I will check how many points the carrier wants, and then I'll go with whatever's cheaper. After $150, the carriers are always cheaper.
Mm-hmm.
And so what I would do then is, you know, you ask, second part of that question is, how do I transfer them? You just log in, and then you go to the reward section, and they have a little button that says transfer, and you can list the partners.
Yeah, I learned this the hard way. I definitely flew, I think, from Cambodia to Qatar for like 150,000 points, which was an insane, because I didn't transfer it to another partner. I just did it in lieu of cash, and I would have never paid $150 or $1,500 or $2,000. That's not what it's worth. And I think I could have gotten that probably for 60,000 points had I transferred it somewhere else. But also, I would like to say, like, I have a follow-up question for Rebecca. So, like, let's say you don't know all this off the top of your head. Where would you go to find the information to actually, like, figure out where to transfer it and all of that stuff? Is it Google? Do you Google something, or is there a certain person you go to? I mean, I know this is in your book.
I could certainly Google it, but yeah, I would look maybe on your website, maybe actually read the free hacking guide that you have out instead of just listening to this.
Yeah, you know, definitely read the guide, and we have a book you can buy for $10 that goes into like 8 times more detail. But some of this stuff just comes with time, you know, because, you know, every airline you kind of have to know, right? You know, and I was talking to Brian Kelly about this on Instagram Live. You know, he's the points guy, right? And even sometimes, he forgets, right? He'll make a booking and somebody will leave a comment like, well, if you had done this through Air Canada, on, and routed through this connection, you could have saved, 1,000 points or whatever. And he's like, yeah, so there's a lot to keep up with. And some of that just comes with time, to know. But once you sort of get the basics down, it becomes a lot easier. So this is, again, goes back to your goal. Rather than having to learn all of this stuff, figure out where do you want to go and the airline you want to fly there, and then sort of work backwards on that. Because, if you're going like, I want to go to Europe and I want to fly Lufthansa first class. Okay, so immediately my options are United, Air Canada, and Singapore Airlines as like the places to book that, because those are transfer partners for American, Amex, and Chase. So then it's just a matter of like looking at the 3 award charts for those airlines and figuring out which one has the cheapest rewards. So like you sort of work backwards, like, okay, if I want this airline and I have points on this card, who are the partners with that airline that I can transfer points to from Chase? So it's still a little bit of work. And again, that's in our book to take some of that work out. But it's not as a crazy amount of work as like having to look at every airlines, every reward charts, all that stuff. And so again, this having your goal really takes this like crazy thing and makes it just a little bit less crazy. Still crazy, but less crazy.
So if I go to the credit card site, will it have a list of their partners also?
Yeah. So the award partners are in the book, but when you like say, do you have Chase? I forget who you have.
Chase, Amex, and
Yeah.
Capricorn.
Yeah. So when you log into Chase and you click your points balance and it takes you to their Ultimate Rewards website, there's a thing that says transfer, and then it will just list them all.
And then Jerry B has a question. Jerry, do you want to ask that? That's a good follow-up. Jerry?
Oh, and Amber just wrote that Mint.com does monitor credit card reporting too. And yeah, you can get a feature there where they'll
Hi, yeah, this is Jerry. My question is, do you have to have a Chase Ultimate Rewards account in order to be able to transfer from Chase to the airlines?
You automatically get it when you have a Chase card. So as long as you have a points earning Chase card, you already have one.
And then can you just repeat what other credit cards you can use to transfer points to, like Chase, Amex, Citi?
So Chase, Amex, Citi, and Capital One all have cards that are transferable points. And transferable points basically means they can be transferred to one of their hotel, airline, or car partners. So if you have a Chase Sapphire or Freedom, you're earning Ultimate Reward points. If you got an Amex Blue or Gold or Platinum, you're getting Chase. Capital One Venture Card earns transferable points. And then Citi has a whole bunch of them that does it.
Great. Sarah Cash, great last name. Would you like to unmute yourself?
Yes, thank you. So I was kind of asking about the next step. I try to use Award Hacker as like a good like Google or like search database for looking at good redemptions, but I find that it's often difficult to like get the one that is at the top, like the best mileage, I guess. So I'm just wondering about searching for the best redemptions.
So I would also say that this comes to like the goal, right? Because the best redemption, one, value is in the eye of the beholder, right? So go back to that Lufthansa example. On United, it takes 110,000 points for a one-way Lufthansa first class flight. On Air Canada, it's about 85, 90,000 points, but you have to pay all these fees. So it's like less points, but you're paying all the taxes and fees that are like $600-800. Whereas United, it's like $100. So on a pure point basis, yes, it costs less points on Air Canada, but more money. And so for me, I value money more than points. So I'd rather spend the extra 20,000 points, which I know I can, earn pretty quickly, rather than spend the extra $700, $600-700. And so what's the best redemption there? Is it United or is it Air Canada? One travel hacker will tell you Air Canada, another will tell you United, because it really depends in the end. What do you value more, the point difference or the cash difference? And so when you're thinking about how do I get the best redemption, it really comes down to, well, where do I want to go and how do I want to get there? What class do I want to fly? And then who do I value more in terms of points? For example, I will burn through so many Delta points. I don't really care. If it's like 60,000 points, whatever, we earn so many Delta points through our business spend, and just because I fly Delta all the time, that to me, they are just worthless points. Like, I will just spend them like I don't even pay attention to. Whereas Amex, I don't earn a lot of Amex points because we don't spend a lot on Amex. So I'm a lot more cautious with those points. And so they have more value to me. And so I think when you're thinking about how do I find the best value redemption, you think about what matters to you a lot. Yeah, if it's a huge point difference, clearly it's not great, but travel hackers tend to get really into the weeds about, well, these are worth 1.1 cent and these are worth 1.235 cents, but these are worth 0.9 cents. I tend to not go that deep, because at the end of the day, I really want to fly Japan Airlines first class, right? That means a lot. That has value to me. That experience has value to me. And so if it costs me 20,000 more points to do it but I have a lot of those points, the experience is worth the extra. Some travel hacker will show me the math, and they'll be right. It's not the best use of math, but points value has a lot to do with just the eye of the beholder, because if you can earn a lot of points on a carrier, then they're not going to be as valuable because you're always going to have them. So I would say that long and short of it is that you don't find the best value on Google. You can get Points Guy or 1 Mile at a Time or Doctor of Credit can tell you like good redemptions, but at the end of the day, the best value redemption is the one you want the most. Does that answer your question?
Yes, thank you.
Weej, do you have a question?
Yes, please. I'm new to the hacking and also new to using these credit cards. So I have a Chase Reserve that I got in November, and it costs a lot of money to have a Chase Reserve, but there are a lot of benefits for a new account. But when it comes time to renew, I imagine they're going to be charging me the same amount of money. I don't recall what it was, $750, something.
$550.
$550. Okay. But I won't get, a huge, 50,000 points, for spending the money for a new card carrier. So how do you decide whether to downgrade to another Chase card? I'm not sure how that would work. or cancel and just get a whole different, you know, Amex or something at that point? What goes into that?
Yeah, so it's $550 a year, but you can get $300 back from their credits. So it's $250 a year. And so then you got to think about, well, what about all the other stuff? So I get 10% off Lyft because I use it, you know, so and I love using Lyft because they have a partnership with Delta. So, and plus you get 10x points. So I get 10% off Delta points and 10 points per dollar spent. And so whenever I go to the airport, which pre-COVID was a lot, I would always take a Lyft, right? So I definitely saved probably, you know, $100 at least a year on that Lyft credit. Then you get the DoorDash credit. So that's another $60. So for me, I can get enough savings out of that $550 that it makes it worth keeping the card. Plus, I eat out a lot. I love food. I love travel. 3x points on that, right? So that like becomes like one of my big cards. You get Priority Pass, which I use all the time. So when you're thinking about these high-end cards, you really just got to think about it. It's always good to get it the first year because you're getting the sign-up bonus, right? Second, third year, fourth year, whatever year afterwards, it really just comes down to, do you use the perks enough to justify the cost? I don't have an Amex Platinum anymore because I can't justify the $550 a year for that when I already have the business version and a Delta card. So I don't need the Delta lounges and the Chase. So I already have Priority Pass through Chase, TSA stuff through Chase. So like for me, I don't need that card. I fly Delta all the time, so I have the Delta Reserve, which is like $400. And so it really just comes down to add up the cost, add up your benefit spend, and see which number is greater.
If you do decide to cancel a card, can you transfer points that you have on the card to airlines or hotels and just leave them in the account?
Yeah, so what you can do is, since the Chase Reserve has a cheaper version called the Preferred, you can call Chase and downgrade to a Preferred. If you decide you don't want either one of them, if you have another Chase card, you won't lose your ultimate reward points, right? So, because they're not tied to the card, they're tied to your account with Chase. So as long as you have another Chase card, you're fine. So when I canceled my Amex Platinum, I didn't lose all those points because I have another Amex card. It's all tied together. If you were like, I don't want to be in business with Chase at all ever again, yeah, right before you cancel, transfer all your points somewhere else, and then to whatever your preferred airline is. And then when you cancel Chase, since you no longer have an account, you'll automatically lose your ultimate reward points.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Can you speak a little bit more about that? How you decide to cancel a card versus downgrade it? Because I think there are even more cheaper or free versions of the Chase cards you could go down to. So can you just explain that a little bit?
Yeah, whenever it's time for a renewal and you're unsure if you want to keep it, call up the bank and say, I'm thinking about canceling this card. Do you have a free, no fee version of it that I can transfer to? Most of the time they do. Many banks have 0 fee cards, and so you can transfer to that. The point earning isn't as great, but it's a way to just preserve your line of credit. And so otherwise, for example, what you could do is, let's say you have a Chase Freedom and you want to cancel the ultimate reward. A lot of times the credit card companies will move the credit available from one card to another card that you have, so you can preserve your credit to debt ratio. Because the reason why canceling cards all the time is bad is because it fucks with your credit to debt ratio, right? So we sort of talked about how that was the most important thing. And so if you have a $50,000 line of credit that you just cancel, that's going to really affect it. But if you can move 40,000 of it to another card in Chase, then you've only really lost $10,000 from your line of credit. So moving that's another reason to look for downgraded cards.
Makes sense. Does anyone else have a question?
Wesley Board has his hand raised.
Go for it.
Wesley, you can just unmute yourself.
Oh, hi. Sorry, I didn't realize that was, that's an organization I belong to. I don't know why that's showing. Anyways, I just wanted to add to the comment with regards to the points versus taxes example that you were just said just a little while ago, like you said, Air Canada, for example, higher taxes. It also depends upon the actual carrier. So I went to Europe in October, this past October, and used points on Air Canada. Flew Air Canada one direction because of one of the destinations that I was going to, but returned on Turkish Airlines. And the reason I wanted to do that is because there's no taxes on Turkish Airlines. So it really depends upon not just the point system that you're purchasing it through, but the actual airline, because they all have different taxes. Once you're into that that portal, depending upon who the partner carrier is. So I just wanted to, it's a little more complicated to find the lowest tax carrier through that point system.
Yes, yeah, very true. You know, like going back to what we were saying before about, you know, there's a lot of systems out there, you know, so like Air Canada charges, you know, fees for Lufthansa, but not Turkish, and then British, like if you route through London, but not London, and it's all, there is complexity to it because everyone has their own systems as well as partnership agreements with various airlines. So that's definitely one thing you want to look to. It's not like, don't always rule Air Canada out because, you know, Lufthansa, they charge a fee on Lufthansa because they don't charge a fee on all of their partners.
Yeah, Lufthansa and Air Canada have much higher taxes, but a lot of their partner airlines have much lower taxes. So you could end up paying no taxes.
Yeah.
That would be nice. Weech has another one.
Yeah, I just wonder if there's any central place to find all those little ins and outs about taxes and fees from the airlines.
There, like, I don't doubt that 1 Mile at a Time, View from the Wing, any travel hacking website has some sort of list that, you know, you can find about taxes and fees. But again, this destination and carrier base, so it's not what, there's no one size fits all here. It's not like here's the fee list, right? It changes airline, where you're going, how you're routing there. So again, going back to the goals, so like a better way to find this would be to say, I want to go fly to Europe on Air Canada. And that would be like a search engine. Best points, redemptions, Air Canada, Europe. And then you'll get, like, if you're in Canada, like Prince of Travel or someone, Canadian Kilometers, and they'll have breaking that down. What's the best way to get to Europe from Canada using Aeroplan points? And they'll have this all broken down, taxes, fees, all that stuff. And so once you sort of know where you're going and how you want to get there, then the search becomes a lot easier. Because yeah, I mean, I don't keep up with it full time because, you know, travel hacking is just a part of what we do. But all my friends are full-time travel hackers. So when I'm like, hey, I want to go to Hong Kong today, and I have this points. And I'll find their blog and they'll break down it, and I'll be like, all right, I want to go on this airline, and I got these points, and I'm willing to pay that fee. So once you get down to who you want to fly and where you want to go, then the search query to find one of those travel hacking articles is a lot easier.
Mm-hmm.
Because, like, for example, this use of United Miles to Europe. Like, yeah, Points Guys got one, Value Penguins got one, the best redemptions for United Miles, you know. Best first class to Europe redemptions. So if I type that in, best ways to get to Europe using points and miles, 6 award chart sweet spots for going to Europe. There's all these like articles that come up once you figure that one thing out.
Mm-hmm. I would also love to add, this is where networking comes in, because, you know, the people that I've met that are travel hackers, including Nomadic Matt, like he knows all of this stuff off the top of his head or can figure it out. And some of them are so complex that this is where networking comes in. I mean, we've had Stefan Krasowski come on to TNN events now, I think 2 or 3 times, and he will just answer question after question. And it is like his joy in life to figure out how to get you somewhere for cheap or free. And so really like pinpointing people that can help you on your journey to learning travel hacking is also really key. I mean, it's great to definitely get Matt's book that goes into depth so you understand what you're asking, and then like identifying some people and just like staying friends with them and being able to call upon them. Or if you don't have people, then these blogs, because it really does help. So I just wanted
and
to
then there, and Stefan also runs, if I can load this up,
Rapid Travel Chai.
yeah, but also this conference here, everyone, called FTU, which is a travel hacking conference. I mean, there are the basics that for the majority of everyone out there, you know, are good enough. But if you really want to get in depth and crazy, things change so quickly because, I mean, this is all arbitrage, right? This is just a form of money arbitrage that we're doing, except the money is points and miles. And so it's all about finding the loophole, maximizing the loophole, and then when the loophole's shut, finding another loophole.
Mm-hmm.
And so this is constantly changing, which is why, you know, every 6 months we update our guide. You know, why all these blogs exist. You know, the airlines are changing all the time. So the book that we have,
I already linked it, but I'll put it down again.
you know, it is a great intro to this. Broad strokes, sort of, will get you to like medium level, I guess. You know, if you're already an expert, you don't need it, but it won't get you to expert level. Expert level, like, you know, you have to stay updated with this news. I mean, I read all these blogs every day to see like what's changing, what's going on, what are the new redemptions, what's the new mileage stuff look like. But for the general, I travel a few times a year person, you don't need to be an expert. You just gotta know that how to maximize your spending and get all the points you need, so you're always getting the most points per dollar spent, and how to maximize your redemption, so you're always getting the best redemption per mile spent. And this is where the book and a few, you know, just like knowing your goal can come in.
Mm-hmm. Actually, I had something so disheartening happen. I 3 months ago got a Chase Sapphire Rewards. Chase Sapphire Reserve, specifically to go to Ghana through Virgin Atlantic on Delta, so I could get a nonstop flight for my family, like next Christmas. So by the time 11 months, you know, rolled around, like I had 11 months to actually do it. When I went to look for that flight, apparently Virgin Atlantic has changed their partnership with Delta and they don't offer it anymore. So like I was trying to do it really right and now we have to find another loophole. So everything's changing all the time. I see Jeffrey has a question. I think it'll be our last one. Jeffrey, you want to unmute yourself?
Yeah, I think I am unmuted.
Mhm.
Hey, Matt.
Hey,
say
Jeff.
First, it's nice and cool here in Ecuador. The mountains, it balances the equator. Okay, so I have a follow-up question about the hotels. Okay, because you're saying the use them overseas, but I like staying in hostels. Once I turn the light out, it's the same place. So I was just looking for my most expensive travel item is American hotels wherever I'm going, and even the cheap ones are just much more expensive. So so I was just trying to find out what I mean. I'm more leaning on Hilton for Hampton Inn. So is that the Amex? I guess is that kind of the way to go for that one? Because I really don't do the other hotels like Marriott's or anything else. I just try to do the if I have to, I do the Hampton Inn.
Yeah, so Amex is the sole card provider for all of Hilton. So if you want the Hilton cards, you go through Amex. And yeah, they offer 3 different cards. And so here's a link. If you use that link I just dropped in, it lists all my favorite cards. And so
I was just trying to find out how worth my time that is. Yeah, I mean, or I should just put my money into the overseas flights, because I would love to do first class. I have no problem with that. But I was just trying to find out. I mean, or should I use Amex for another for airlines? Because is it worth? I mean, is it because it doesn't sound like you're getting as much of a bang for the buck. You're really not be able to reduce your expenses at a hotel that much. I don't know.
I mean, I think knowing you and how much you travel and how much you're traveling overseas, I'd probably get a card that's more geared toward airlines than one toward hotels.
Okay.
Because if you're not like super loyal or staying in a hotel often, the app Hotels Tonight, as well as hotels.com, booking.com, they give you tons of good, you can find cheap accommodation. But, I mean, since you're traveling overseas a lot, you love hostels, you want flights, put it to the flights.
Oh, okay, good.
It sounds like you'd get more bang for your buck from flights.
I hate to get this cat out of the bag, but I use hotels for hostels, and then I get free nights. So
Yeah.
I do. I check Hostel World also. Those are the only 2 things I check: hotels and Hostel World. And hotels, I get gift cards, discounted gift cards that I buy. So yeah, I've reduced the prices through there. Okay.
Yeah. So it seems to
thank you for that.
You're welcome.
Information. I appreciate it.
You're welcome. All right.
Any closing words, Matt?
Oh yeah, we're almost up on the hour. So thank you all for coming. If you have any further questions, we've dropped a ton of links into the chat for the guides, my list of favorite credit cards, like a master list of cards, the free guide, the paid guide, just everything you need. And we'll send this all in a follow-up email too. But remember, travel hacking can seem very confusing, and I know it is because there's so many systems to just cram into your head. But it really all starts with the goal. Once you have the goal and you know what you want to do, where you want to fly, if you don't have the information, then it becomes a lot easier to find that information. Again, if I just wanted to fly Lufthansa first class, Google best Lufthansa redemptions, and there will be a blog post laying it out step by step by step. But the goal is very important. Everything starts with the goal. And again, if you are just traveling a few times a year, don't feel the need to master all of this, because there are people who travel a lot who this matters for. But if you're just traveling a few times a year, what is your time worth? Probably more than spending 2 days trying to figure out the award chart for all these airlines to avoid paying $50 in an extra fee, right? So at some point, time the money thing, switches. So don't feel the need to just devote all hours and get frustrated and not do this at all. It's better to do it a little bit, and maybe you're not like an expert, but some is better than none. Free travel, it's still the best travel. So let's get that.
Mm-hmm. And I would just love to end saying, pat yourself on the back for being here, because I don't know about you guys, but I don't know that many people outside of this group of humans that knows that much about travel hacking or cares to do it. I try to, say this to all my friends that love to travel and they still use debit cards. And so kudos to you guys for being curious and for taking the time to be here listening to Matt answer all of these questions. Definitely download the free guide. There's all sorts of links that we linked in the chat. And so feel free to ask Matt any questions, matt@nomadicmatt.com. If you have any questions specifically, he's always happy to answer them. And then before we go, I would just love to share my screen one more time. So like I mentioned at the beginning, if you found value in this, we would love to invite you to be a part of our Patreon community. Aside from getting the TNN past, present, and future recordings and replays, you also get personal stories not shared on the Nomadic Matt blog. You get tons of one-on-one time or one-on-some time with Matt and the other team members. You get live Q&As, signed books, free guides, never before seen photos, a Facebook group, and access to our courses and more. So I really encourage you to go to patreon.com/nomadicmatt to find out more about that. And for those of you who said this was your first event, welcome. And also I'd love to just let you know how to come to more events. The nomadicnetwork.com/events has lots of events listed for the next few months. Currently, we're offering 3 different types of events. One is a speaker event like this, where we have Matt calling in and answering all your questions. There's usually a presentation of some sort, but this was, strictly a Q&A, but we have people from all over the world teaching about all different topics. For example, we have Nikki coming next Tuesday, who's going to be talking about what it's like to launch a travel magazine from scratch, which is pretty cool. And then Chris, one of our team members, on Wednesday is going to be teaching us how to crush the clock in 2021. This guy literally gets the most done that I've ever known in my whole life. He's so efficient. So he's great to learn from. And we also have Rodrigo, who's coming on the 25th to talk about how to positively impact local communities through responsible tourism. The second kind of event that we offer are happy hours, and they're regional. And there's usually about 20, 25 people on these calls, and you get to unmute yourself and share all your travel stories and connect with travelers. That's how we started this whole The Nomadic Network, all started so that we could connect with each other. And so we're bringing that back this year, and we're very excited. And the third kind of event is a travel book club. And so our next one is on March 3rd. It's with David Farley, who wrote this incredibly hilarious book, An Irreverent Curiosity. It's one of Matt's favorites. It's about the search for Jesus's lost foreskin in Italy. So definitely come.
And David also teaches our writing course too.
Mm-hmm.
So
David teaches our writing course and he'll be there. So he's going to be on the call. All of our book clubs have the author there. Matt interviews them and then we do sort of like we did today, and everyone can unmute themselves and ask the author questions. And it's really cool, very behind the scenes. So we invite you to all of those. We love putting these on for you. You guys are incredible. We love having you as a part of our travel community, and we hope to see you at future events. Thank you so much for being here.
thank you, everyone. Hope you have a great day. Daryl, please stay warm. And hope our power comes back and our water. So bye, everyone. We'll see you next time.
Bye.